evening and welcome to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. This is Trey Graham with Cardinals head football coach Matt Nally. We broadcast every Monday night, 5:30 p.m. at the Dugout Sports Grill. You're invited to join us for dinner. Make sure you subscribe to Melissa ISD on YouTube so you'll be alerted every week when a new episode drops. Coach Nally, I have a really boring intro. It's the same one every week. 9-game winning streak.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I hope you say 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 game winning streak. It all goes to the kiddos and the coaches and what they've done, how they've grinded, put in the game plan, and really overcome adversity, and just being resilient and believing in one another and pushing through. So it was a fun game, to end Cardinal Stadium. It was such a great thing to be a part of. And I know the kids really enjoyed it, and the coaches did as well. And I hope the stands did and the fans all over the place. But, hopefully it's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
9-game winning streak. Last year you had an 11-game winning streak.
Yes, sir.
Started 0-2.
Yes, sir.
Won 11 in a row. Then came the eventual state champion Stephenville
right
after that. So what is the longest winning streak in school history?
Wow.
It's been done twice.
Oh, is it 12?
It's 12.
It's 12 because I was here for one of them. I don't know, what was the other one?
2017, you won 12 in a row.
Right.
2011, they won the last 10. And 2012 season, they won the first 2.
I got you. Okay, yes, sir.
12 wins in a row is the school record.
Well, we're going after that record.
So I was going to say, you have an assignment.
Yeah, we're going
now.
after that record.
All right, so you're at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And if you do 13, you might as well do 14.
Right.
So 14, that would be the state championship game for all of those who are counting up the brackets here. All right, 57-20, final score over Hallsville. First time you've ever played those guys. And we'll meet in a little bit our offensive player of the game, Nate Jokin, defensive player of the game, Nigel Smith. And maybe the first time on the Cardinal Scoreboard Show we've ever said that the offensive player of the game and the defensive player of the game scored the same number of touchdowns. Right.
And it's wild, though, if you go back and you're thinking about the game. Defensively we were playing so well, and offensively we kind of had a couple hiccups to start, but it's just, this is what I love about the team. It doesn't matter who you are. Someone's going to step up somewhere and make a play. And Nigel made an unbelievable play and went and scored a touchdown and, gave us that extra little oomph going into it. And then the defense turned right back around and got another turnover for the offense. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just the next man up. Someone's going to make a play, and it's going to happen. And in that situation, Nigel Smith stepped up and made a great play.
Since we're talking about Nigel, 11 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, fumble return for a touchdown.
It's not a bad night. It's not a bad night.
And then Mr. Jokin, 21 carries, 188 yards, 9 yards a carry almost, and a touchdown.
Not a bad night either.
And Nate, in that 8.9 yards a carry, some games he's had it's been more like 4 or 5 yards a carry. What was the difference?
Well, I want you to think about it. I talked to this with the coaching staff. You go back to the Lovejoy game, and he had a lot of carries but didn't have a lot of yards. Right. And if you just can remember that, I was so proud of him because he ran, in my opinion, the hardest he's ever ran in that Lovejoy game. And I think it just transcended into the Hallsville game. He is running with a purpose. And his purpose, he's so strong, but, his purpose is to get that extra yard. So I really think that he is just bound and determined from here on out. Like, I am going to be the toughest running back here. And I do think the running backs before him have really kind of helped him in that regard just because, Braden Smith, Ashton Mitchell-Johnson, those kids that were here and just really put the fact of that position's a physical position, and he has really embraced it.
We'll talk about the upcoming playoff opponent in the next segment, but let's still talk about Hallsville. Again, final score 57-20, 515 total yards for your offense. This stat stuck out to me, 25 first downs.
Right.
Controlled the ball.
Well, it's playoff football. So playoff football now, your philosophy doesn't change, but there's a lot of things within playoff football that you have to make sure that you're really striving to take advantage of. And one of those is, we have a rule. We have 5 rules in offensive football. Well, one of them is get a first down. It's not about touchdowns, or first downs lead into touchdowns. So you got to concentrate on winning first down, but also getting a first down. So the offensive staff did an amazing job with that Friday night.
25 first downs is actually a lot if you're a football stat nerd, because that means 2 things did not happen. You're not punting a lot,
right,
and you're not scoring 80-yard touchdowns, because it's a series of long drives.
Right.
Ball control.
Right. Well, and besides that, it says a lot about offensively what we were able to do execution-wise. We executed. You're going to have penalties.
That's coming on the list right here.
You're going to have penalties, but when we think about high school football, college football, we're not talking about professional. We're talking about kids that are dealing with life and school and things like that, and to go on drives and to execute and to take advantage of situations. That's big to me for a high school kid to do. So once again, really proud of those kids and how they performed Friday night.
So we had the very good news on the stat sheet, but there's always some bad news on the stat sheet. 10 penalties, 74 yards, and 4 turnovers.
Yeah, once again, that's something that, we stressed on Saturday was, it's playoff football time. So there's really a few things in the playoffs that you have to make sure that you're doing is, no pressure. Go out there, don't worry about the scoreboard, worry about your effort and, giving your best every single play. But that comes down to execution. You have to execute, and you have to take care of the ball. And you got to decrease penalties. So, obviously every week you have something to clean up. You got to get something better at. Kudos to Hallsville. Hallsville did a great job in the regards, in my personal opinion, of trying to scheme us, but also trying to steal possessions. And what they did was they did a lot of things in the secondary differently they'd never done before. Spinning and doing some things post-snap that gave us some issues. But, yeah, that's something that we're going to have to clean up moving forward, because you're either going to learn from it or someone's going to get you because of it. So hopefully we've learned from it and move forward.
This is the Cardinal Scoreboard show, so we talk about the Melissa Cardinals. But let's take 1 second and talk about Jace Mosley, quarterback for Hallsville.
Yes.
We don't normally pick the offensive player of the game for the opposing team, but we did this week.
Right.
He's offensive player of the year for them.
Right.
Talented football player.
Right. If you look at his stats, but going into our game, he had accounted for 40 touchdowns.
Passed for over 2,000, rushed for over 1,000.
Right, and he had thrown for 18 touchdowns and rushed for 22. So, he's a poster child of a kid that is not looked at by recruiters for some reason no one knows. He's got the height and the built, and obviously he's got the athleticism. A lot of people don't see how good that he does throw the football, because he can throw the football extremely well. Everyone's so consumed with the way he runs it. Going into that game, a quarterback that can run makes me more nervous than anything else. Just because of the fact you have to account for him when he drops back, you have to account for him running but also throwing. So you're going to have to do situational stuff, where there was times in that game where we were spying him and things like that, just to give us a leg up on that type of kid. But yeah, unbelievable, phenomenal. I know him graduating hurts that team. I know Coach Strickland and them will do a great job of replacing and adapting. But, yeah, he was an unbelievable football player.
Final score was 57-20, defeating the Hallsville Bobcats. We're going to talk about the second round playoff game in just a moment. But something to finish this segment, you mentioned it, the last varsity football game in Cardinal Stadium, because we're building this right here.
Right.
So you're a pretty nostalgic guy anyway, so don't shed a tear or anything. But since 2004 till 2022, the home of the Cardinals.
Right.
Time to turn out the lights.
There's so many stories that I could say. I remember getting here, and when I was interviewing for the job 8 years ago, I parked right by, you look outside and it says Cardinal Stadium, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. And then so many, practices in that stadium, and so many games. When I was the OC, I had the best seat in the house. I got to sit up there and in the press box, and and not just that, but getting to see my kids interact with the players, but getting to see old players react to great things that happened in that stadium. Yeah, it'll always be special to me. I know it'll be special to fans. But the craziest thing about it is we're going to have one of the nicest middle school football stadiums in the state of Texas.
And one of the nicest high school
Correct,
football stadiums.
correct. But man, what a way to go, So after games, I like to just take in the moment, and I got to stand there by myself and kind of take in that moment. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Bittersweet.
And Randy Craven put together a pretty cool little
He
tribute
did.
video.
He did.
Which we'll share with the audience tonight.
He does an unbelievable job. Awesome job with those kids and all that stuff. Yes, sir.
You're watching the Cardinal Scoreboard show from the Dugout Sports Grill. In a moment, you'll get to meet Nigel Smith and Nate Adejokin. As we go to the break, I invite you and your family to join me and my family at First Melissa, our church home, this Sunday morning, 9 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. in person, 11:30 worship every Sunday morning online. You'll find out a lot more when you go to firstmelissa.com. We'll take a break and come back right after this. He's going to break away. He's at the 20, 10, 5. Touchdown Cardinals, 96 yards.
3, 2, 1. Ball game. Your Melissa Cardinals are victorious. District champs in District 7-2A for the first time in school history. Shotgun, hand the ball to Christoph George going left. Makes a cut. 10, 5. Touchdown Cardinals. Touchdown Cardinals. Make your reservations. You are going to Arlington, Texas on Thursday night.
Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We broadcast every Monday night at the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. This is Trey Graham with our defensive player of the game for the victory over Hallsville, defensive end Nigel Smith. And Nigel, you've been here a few times.
Yes, sir. It's been a couple.
It's a good chance to recognize quality play. You have been named the defensive player of the week several times. And what makes a good defensive player, especially defensive line?
For D lineman, it's just staying assigned to your gap, saying gap sound, and just doing your job in this defense that we have. Plays will come to you as long as you do your job, and that's kind of what happened to me. Like that touchdown I had, that was my first ever, and all I was doing, shed the block, and I seen the forced fumble, picked it up, and scored, and that's kind of how a lot of plays come from. You just doing what you're supposed to do, and, the ball will come to you.
You faced a lot of double teams, even triple teams this year, because as one of the best players on Melissa's defense, the opposing offense game plans to go against you. How do you react to that?
It's kind of just compliment towards me. I don't really take anything to it. There will be some games that they game plan a lot against me, and I won't make as many plays as I do for a game like this past week. And I kind of appreciate it. It gives the other D linemen and linebackers just a lot more ways to make plays, opens a lot more things up, and as long as if I can take three people, then somebody's unblocked or somebody's got an easy one-on-one. So as long as you win the ball game, it doesn't really matter.
Stat sheet says 11 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, a fumble return for a touchdown. You say your first ever touchdown?
Yes, sir.
In
First
your
ever
life?
in my life.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. You didn't score one in 6th grade or anything?
I was a lineman back in 6th grade as well, left tackle and DN, so none of that.
So 1 tackle in your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you and Adejokin were tied in touchdowns in this last game.
Sure was.
Okay. But he's a little ahead of you in this.
Just
and
a bit.
Maynard's shutting you out.
Oh,
almost.
oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So what have you learned as a player? How have you improved this season?
Just kind of how I fit into this defense. I improved a lot in terms of that. had to get kind of my style figured out when it came to this defense because it really wasn't my playing style. But
What do you mean by that?
I feel like I'm more of just a shade type of guy. I feel like I am a better player when I'm able to just play and not have to read and react, when you just get after it and just try and get in the backfield as quick as possible. And just, our defense has ended up working for us. So, finding my way in this defense is what my biggest thing was this season. Towards the end of the season, I think I found it, and that's why I've been playing how I have.
And how is the classroom going this semester?
Pretty good. I really can't complain. Not too much, other than English, getting a little much, but other than that, it's pretty fun.
Have you taken SATs and ACTs yet?
No, sir, not yet. I'll probably take that pretty soon, but not right now.
We ask you every time you come on here about the recruiting process. What's the status right now?
I'm still waiting. I'll start narrowing down schools coming after this season, and probably do a top 12 and just go from there.
Do you have a criteria that you're using?
How I see myself fitting into the school, their defense, the coaching staff, just if they're personable people, if I don't feel like they're just writing me off on the checklist, hey, I called this guy today, things like that. I want it to be a real family atmosphere. I want the D-line coach and strength coach for me to feel that they will develop me the best when I go there, and just for me to have plenty of opportunities open up when it comes to life after football, and the people I'll meet in college and wherever I feel I'll meet the most and get the best opportunities for things outside of football, I'll also go.
What do you want to major in?
Kinesiology and real estate.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is a location, I want to play in Texas, I want to play in the South, is the location a factor?
It doesn't bother me at all. I'll play anywhere. Cold, down here, hot, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. And what do you want to improve on before you go into your senior season next year?
What do I want to? I want to improve on playing faster.
Okay.
Playing
Explain
faster and not thinking as much when it comes to just getting off a block, making a play. I want to just improve on doing that. Shedding my blocker, getting off and making a play, playing as fast as I can, and really on every aspect on the game, because I'm not perfect in any way, so I improve on a lot of that, but just doing everything a lot faster than I have been.
Last question, why don't you review 9-2, great season so far. Looking back, what are your thoughts?
I think we started off rough just like last year, and we got things figured out. Those L's just helped us with getting those little kinks figured out rather than playing a trash team and us not knowing until later on in the season that we have things that we need to get figured out. And we got to figure it out before we played big teams like Lovejoy, and that's, I think, why we won that game. So it's just going to come with that. And, 9-2 season. Right now we're just 1-0 and trying to go 1-0 this week on the road to state.
Congratulations on being the defensive player of the game. Victory over Hallsville, defensive player of the game, was defensive end Nigel Smith. We'll take a break and come back right after this. Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. This is Trey Graham. We join you every Monday night from the Dugout Sports Grill. You got to meet our defensive player of the game for the playoff victory over Hallsville. That was Nigel Smith. Now you get to meet our offensive player of the game, running back Nate Adejokin, and this is the show of the returning veterans to the program.
Yes, sir.
You've already been here once this year. Congratulations coming back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Offensive player of the game, 21 carries, 188 yards, averaging almost 9 yards a carry, and 1 touchdown. And you heard a minute ago, Nigel said he scored his first touchdown of his whole life this past Friday. You score one every week, so
yes, sir.
He scores one in his whole life. So what does it mean to you to tie the defensive end in scoring for the last game?
I'm glad he got that accomplishment,
Yeah.
I do it every game, but,
right.
At least he got it.
At least he got one.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right, talk about the big win over Hallsville.
I think we prepared really well for it this week. I was just coming off of a sprained ankle, but it feels a lot better now. So I think just in terms of preparation, we did an amazing job.
And what was the key going in? What was the offensive game plan?
Well, we knew their DNs like to crash in a lot, so we like to hit stuff outside that game, which worked on my first carry, which went for like 30 yards, and my next carry on the next drive. So we just kept pounding in. The run game was good.
Talk about and brag on your O-line.
They're amazing. We got Trevor Gooseby at left tackle. He's amazing when it comes to just run blocking and pass blocking. He can do it all. Brandon Ward at my left guard. He's amazing when it comes to just being physical on the front line. Luke Damo's not as big as them, but he's just as physical as them. I have Owen Hollenbeck at right guard, extremely physical, and he's a year younger than I am. And then my right tackle is Jake Brown. He's amazing when it comes to just same stuff as Trevor, just a little bit smaller.
And when Coach Russell's putting the game plan together, does he say expect to get the ball a lot, or it's going to be situational? What does he tell you pregame?
Just do your thing, Nathan. That's all he tells me. Just run hard. Be a running back.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I asked Nigel a minute ago, it's 9-2. It's a great season. Take a look back. What have you learned this year?
Running with confidence will always be on my side. Just doing whatever it takes to win. Yes, sir.
And how is the recruiting coming along? Is any news this season?
Not much more from last time. I'm still at that stage where I have to show what I can do, where I think I have. But after the season, when I think they're going to start rolling in.
All right. And I asked Nigel the same kind of question. When you think about colleges, do you want to be close to home? Is a certain state? You want to be in warm weather, cold weather, anything like that? Your criteria you're using?
I don't think I have a criteria just based on what type of school it is. Like if there's a good school and it's far away, I'll still go there. But I guess preferably somewhere close to home.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And what do you want to study in college?
Business, maybe. I like a lot of business. I think I said last time that I'm taking my business class still, and I want to keep taking that through high school. I just find it interesting.
All right. And for the education of our audience, Coach Kenny Deal is my partner on the broadcast.
Yes, sir.
His daughter, Katie Deal Jones, happens to be the director of our children's ministry at First Melissa.
Yes, sir.
And you do something with Katie Deal Jones.
Yes, sir.
Tell everybody about it.
I volunteer every Sunday just with the little kids, just to be involved with the church. I like talking to them, and a lot of them know me from football games, so they'll come see me and they'll be like, "Hey, I've seen you.
Right.
Aren't you number 21?" I'll be like, "Yeah, that's me." So I like interacting with them.
What do you like about it?
It's just I feel like a superstar. They're like, "Aren't you number 21 from the Cardinals?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me. I did that." So yeah.
But you're teaching Bible stories and working with them, so it's
It's
not
a win-win.
just playing. It's a spiritual time.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And what do you want to say to the Cardinal fans? How they supported you this season?
I love all of you. They've been really helpful to me, giving me advice every time they see me, always complimenting me even when I have a bad game. I just love all of them.
Congratulations on being the offensive player of the game.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Running back Nate Adejokin, offensive player of the game, the big victory over Hallsville. We'll come back and talk more with Coach Matt Nally right after this. Welcome back to the Melissa Cardinals Network. This is Trey Graham and Matt Nally. You just got to meet Nigel Smith and Nate Adejokin, our defensive player of the week and offensive player of the week for the victory over Hallsville. And Coach, you should have learned two interesting facts in those interviews. One, Nigel Smith announced on the air his first touchdown of his whole life was the fumble recovery for a score against Hallsville. And then Nate Adejokin said, "Yeah, I get one every week." You understand? But the interesting fact Nate Adejokin talked about, the fact that he is a volunteer in the children's ministry at First Melissa.
That's awesome. I did not know that about
And you know
Nathan.
who the children's ministry director is at First Melissa?
No.
Katie Deal Jones. Melissa High School graduate, the daughter of some guy we happen to know. Yeah. So Nate works with our kids ministry every week.
That's awesome. Nate's an unbelievable person, unbelievable kid, and that just speaks volumes about his character and who he is as a person. When it comes to Nigel, if you can ever get an opportunity to sit down with his dad and talk to his dad about Nigel when he was younger, his dad will tell you how unathletic Nigel was. and how they were worried that he was never, not going to grow up and have any athletic bone in his body, because Big Nigel's a superior athlete. But yeah, good for. Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me.
First touchdown his whole life.
Well, I mean, when you meet him now, you're like, oh, he is this just unbelievable. But when you listen to his dad.
So what you're saying to the moms and dads of the 2-year-olds who are watching, you're saying relax a little
Yes,
bit?
yes. Well, his dad, if I'm not mistaken, it's all the way through middle school. Like,
Yeah?
he's so uncoordinated, and they're like, he'll be good at something,
Does he play piano?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me about Nathan, just because of the person he is and who he is. And, and Nigel's the same guy. Nigel's such a sweet kid, and they're both going to be great men and be great fathers and just unbelievable people. So super blessed that they're in my life.
So let's talk about the second round of the playoffs, the area round. You will play the Ennis Lions. They were third in their district, District 5. They are 6-5 on the year, but they've won 4 in a row.
Right.
So they started 2-5. They've got it turned around.
Right. And the thing is you go back to pre-district and you see who they played, and they're playing Waxahachie and Midlothian, and they're playing really good football teams, and those teams are still playing football. So they're doing what really good programs do, and they're playing really tough people to prepare them for November and December. So, and not just that, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but their head football coach is like a Hall of Fame guy. I mean, he is one of the legends of Texas high school football. So to play Ennis and to play Coach Harrell is something that I don't know, for me is really cool. It's something that I'm going to put in my memoirs one day, just how neat it is to just talking to him right now is a pretty cool thing. But just the tradition and history of Ennis, and when it comes to Texas high school football, just how cool that is. And we're going to get to, strap it up and play against them on Friday night, and it should be a great game.
Ennis defeated Woodrow Wilson in the first round of the playoffs, 55-23. So just like it was the first time Melissa ever played Hallsville, it will be the first time Melissa ever plays Ennis. And we said Ennis defeated Woodrow Wilson, so now it's trivia time.
All right.
Here's the answer. The answer is Woodrow Wilson.
Okay.
What is the football trivia question where Woodrow Wilson is the answer?
They lost to Ennis in the first round.
No.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Who is the only high school in America with 2 Heisman Trophy
Oh,
winners?
I knew that. Yeah.
Can you name the Heisman Trophy
I
winners?
cannot.
Davey O'Brien from TCU.
I should have known that one.
Tim Brown from Notre Dame.
Are you kidding me? Tim Brown?
Yes.
I did not know Tim Brown.
Yes.
I did not know that. But yeah, I knew that they had 2 Heisman Trophy winners. You're right.
But the most famous graduate of Woodrow Wilson High School is?
Is it Trey Graham?
It's my dad.
Oh, okay.
And the second most famous graduate of Woodrow Wilson is?
Trey Graham.
My grandfather.
Okay.
But my other grandfather. Not my dad's dad, but my mom's dad.
Really?
They both went there. Not at the same time, but they both went there.
That's cool. That's
So
really
there you
cool.
go. So, no, I did not attend there. But you got a bad score on your trivia quiz.
I'm not very good at that, yeah.
Okay. Talk about the picking of the stadium. You had a home game in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be a neutral site from here on out until hopefully we get to Jerry World in a
Right.
few more weeks. The game is this Friday, 7:30, Friday, meaning Friday.
Right.
7:30, Friday. Wildcat Ram Stadium, the home of the Lake Highlands Wildcats and the Berkner Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us played there, not very well, but some of us played there a few years ago because it's big rivals of the Richardson Eagles.
Okay.
So see, that's where I went.
Oh,
Woodrow
okay.
Wilson, see? All right, and J.J. Pierce, where my wife went, also played against Lake Highlands and Berkner. You're getting all kinds of Graham family history tonight. So Wildcat Ram Stadium, 7:30 Friday in Dallas. How'd you get to that spot?
So normally what happens is both head coaches get together, just like this week. We've already talked to Everman. We're about to talk to Terrell about where we could potentially play next week. So the 2 head coaches get together, and then they start contacting stadiums and whatnot that are, kind of at a neutral place right in the middle between 2 schools. This is a situation that made my life better. Coach Stinton knew the AD at Ennis, and they were just talking one day, and they're like, "Hey, let's do this and let's do that, and let's do this and let's do that." And Coach Stinton,
do the work?
yeah, and Coach Stinton did all the work, and all I requested was I want to play at 7:30, and Coach Stinton got it together and moved forward. Now, the hardest thing is because we're going to be in this situation with Coach Kennedale Stadium, is you have to find people to work it. And if you can't find people to work it, then you can't host and things like that. And the UIL takes a slice of that money, and then the money gets split, and you got to pay all these people out of it. So, I mean, it's a big deal. Like, we don't just get to show up. Like, it's an agreement. And we were so fortunate that we actually made money off of our playoff game against Hallsville, but there's some situations where we'll lose money just because of the fact of
Because you have to rent the stadium.
you have to rent the stadium, and you have to pay the people that are working, and the officials, and the guy that turns the light on, you got to pay him, and so it is a grand thing. And Miss Aston today was going through the whole thing with me and Coach Sparks, and it's a situation that it's a contract. So but most of the time, just the coaching part is so easy. I can just say, hey, where do you want to play? Oh, he'll give me 2 stadiums. I'll give him 2 stadiums. We'll call whoever you're the first on the list. Hey, that's normally where you're going to play at. And then you hand it over to people who make more money than you do, and then they do all these things that are really difficult and tough. They're figuring things out and whatnot, and like I said, the UIL takes a slice of it too. So it's a thing that you have to be extremely intelligent to do and whatnot. And like I said, Coach Stinton and Coach Sparks and Miss Aston are way smarter than me when it comes to that stuff. So I like picking stadiums. I got a guy on my staff that does an amazing job at helping me out with that, and that's Coach Phelps. It's kind of his thing. He enjoys doing that. But yeah, I mean, that's normally how it works.
That is applicable to our Cardinal audience because there are playoff teams who want to play at Melissa's Stadium.
Right.
The current stadium, and of course next year you'll get 100 phone
Right,
calls.
right.
People want to play at the new place, and we face the same thing.
Right.
Cardinal fans who usually work at the games want to go to Cardinal games.
Correct.
So if the Cardinals are playing, then people don't want to rightfully work the ticket booth and the concession stand and security and all those things
Right.
for a Cardinal home game. So it is work for the 2 teams playing it, but
Right.
it is work for the host.
Correct. I mean, it is, the thing is you can bring in revenue. You can. Now, it's not going to be anything that's grand, but you can bring in revenue. But you really just got to be a fan. We built a gym where I came from, and we were hosting games, and it was really cool to take a step back and just be a fan at that point in time. It's not just about making money or whatever. So, but yeah, and besides that, everyone that works a game, those are special people because it is difficult. I mean, you're dealing with 99% of the people are wonderful people, and then there's 1% of the people who are not so wonderful. So it takes a special person to do it, and they need to be commended on what they do. So I'm so blessed to be in a situation where the people here is when you walk through, I'll come to the game and whatever, and you walk through and you're talking, everyone's so kind and nice, and but that's what you get here. So, but yeah, those are special people.
Kickoff 7:30 on Friday. Pre-game show 7 o'clock on the Melissa Cardinals Network. Melissa versus Ennis in Wildcat Ram Stadium. That's the home of Lake Highlands and Berkner. They share a stadium there in Dallas. So talk about what the Cardinal fans will see when the Ennis Lions are in action.
Well, their quarterback, number 12, is a UTSA commit. He's a big kid, about 6'2", 215, 220 pounds. He's got a great, Division I arm. And then they've got just an unbelievable, he's a sophomore. He was a 1,000-yard receiver as a freshman. He's a sophomore, has a lot of offers to play Division I football. He is dynamic. So what you're going to see is a big quarterback that can sling it, and number 1 who plays receiver, and number 19 is extremely good too. But that's kind of their identity. 12 kind of bruising it. he's not like Jace Mosley in the regards of speed, but he is Jace Mosley in the regards of he can run it. And then he is going to be probably the best quarterback that we've seen all year. So that part of it will be fun to see how our kids react and whatnot. And then defensively, their kids play so hard. They're not the biggest team that we've played, but they just play so hard, and they're so sound in what they do. And, they've been doing it since 1998. The defensive coordinator's been the same guy since 1998. So they do it extremely well. So, and when you have that, it kind of reminds me of Gunner in a sense. Gunner's going to sit in their front, and they're going to sit in their coverage, and they're not getting out of it. But they're so well coached, and they're so just, it's like their routine now. They can just, easily do it in their sleep. That's kind of like Ennis on defense. Now, what we'll do is we're going to be us, and we're going to do what we do. Now you're going to see a couple different wrinkles and whatnot in what we do, but I think it's going to be a great football game. And for me personally, like I said, being around those Hall of Fame coaches, because it's not just about Coach Harrell. There's other Hall of Fame coaches on that staff, and getting to play Ennis is something that, for me personally, it's going to be very special to me to go and play them. So.
Speaking of Gunner, did you see the score of their first round playoff game?
Yeah, was it 2-0?
2-0.
Yeah.
Their opponent decided they wanted to start playing basketball sooner.
Right, and
they chose not to play.
Yeah, and I get it. I get it. Yeah, I get it. Like, there's a lot of schools. It started during COVID. A lot of schools are like, I'm not going to do this. That 1 and the 4 seed, and it's starting to become a bigger thing in the regards of lower levels. But Gunner's got a really good team, and they got a really good quarterback over there.
Yeah, a guy who used to sit around here.
Yeah, and
Mr. Overman.
Yeah, I got to hug his neck on Friday night, so it was pretty cool for me to for them not to play. So to get to see him and
you
whatnot.
were one who defeated a 4 this past week, but there were a lot of 4s who beat 1s in the first round.
Right, and people don't understand how hard it is to win a game. And the thing about it is Thursday, the weather, and it's Texas. So it's 70 one day and it's 35 the next day. So a lot of people got to play on that Thursday where it was warmer and whatnot. And then everybody else, and I say a lot, probably 10% played on Thursday and 90% played on Friday. And that 90% that played on Friday is where you saw most of those 1s go down to 4s. And I think
8 of them happened on Thursday.
Oh, well, I think it had a lot to do with the fact of the weather. I know for me personally, I don't like the cold. And when I went out there, and Coach Pickup and Coach Whitfield were, trying to show it off and whatnot in the regards
short sleeves,
right, and that cold wasn't that big of a deal. And it's like, to me, it's sleet, and I was like, what are we doing out here? Can we just go to the indoor and play this thing? But I think that that has, at least for me. I know it affected me Friday night. Now, once the game goes and, you still get going and whatnot, but it's really hard to get back to it. It's really hard to win a football game. I don't care what anyone says. It's really, really difficult. There's so many things to it. The wind, rain, a kid might have a bad day that day. And, coaches wear so many hats, and you might be counseling this kid, but you don't know what he's been going through. And then you're going to go ask him to play a game, and there's just so many things. Kids can get sick and not just that. You just don't know, like, you might throw the ball and like a little gust of wind might come out and move it just a little bit, there's just a lot to winning a game. It's really hard to win, but it's really easy to lose. So, and that's what makes Monday through Thursday so imperative, is trying to get everything crunched into one, preparing for that Friday night. Because I heard this from Derek Jeter. He said, things slow down when you're prepared. They're really fast when you're unprepared. So as a coach, you feel really good going into every game. You're like, okay, we've done this, we've done that, we've done this, we've done that. But there's uncontrollable things that go into a football game that, you can't control. I mean, a kicker might kick it off the side of his foot, or, the snapper might snap it over his head, or whatever the case may be. And that's something that, you didn't plan for, So, but yeah, it's, but how awesome is it that I believe, and I can't remember if it was Ashley Pickle or if it was Greg Tepper that said it, but there's no other tournament like this one in the world. You have to win 6 games in a row to be the champion, and it doesn't exist like that. So how awesome is it to be in that tournament? But once again, you got to have things go your way, but you got to execute. And there's things you can control and there's things you can't control. And I tell the kids and tell the coaches, guys, the only thing we can concentrate on is what we can control. We can't, the good Lord above He's got this, we got this. So, but yeah, it's tough, and it's heartbreaking. Even after our game, it was heartbreaking to see those kids in Hallsville, sad and things like that. But, when you're expected to win the game, you're expected to win. And those 1 seeds are expected to beat those 4 seeds, and you're expected to win. It makes you think, like, was that district the 4 seed came out of really, really good, or was that 1 seed not prepared to play? And I'll be honest with you, there was a little bit on Friday night. I was a little bit nervous we weren't prepared to play. And I go back to maybe a little bit of the weather and things like that. And once again, that just might be me. I did not like the weather at all Friday night. I did not.
I saw what you were wearing.
Yes, I did not like it. But it is, there's just a lot to it. And like I said, you just don't know what's going to happen on a Friday night. So it's a fun time. But once again, when you're prepared, you feel good. And I'm sure those coaches felt good. But once again, sometimes, people just outperform. And that's life, but our kids have, the last 2 games, maybe 3 games, definitely 2, where we have faced adversity early, and the kids have stuck together and been resilient and moved forward. So that's really, I'm super proud of that.
We're going to close the show in just a moment, but I'll share with you the coolest email of the week.
Okay, yeah.
We get emails every game from all over the country, all over the world, people listening. This week, of course, we were broadcasting as the one and only live stream of the game. Mm-hmm. And we've got Melissa fans emailing in, Hallsville fans emailing in. And one gentleman who was a Hallsville fan said he was watching the game from an airplane at 35,000 feet in the air.
That's awesome. That's the coolest thing I think I've ever heard ever. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. That's great.
The technology.
Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Going from the whatever
reel
to reel to VHS. Now people are watching it in 35,000 feet. Yep. High school football games.
Yep. Pretty cool. 7 o'clock pregame show, 7:30 kickoff. Make sure you're by the channel, the Melissa Cardinals Network, this Friday night. Cardinals versus the Ennis Lions at Wildcat Ram Stadium in Dallas. Thanks again to Nigel Smith and Nate Jokin. We do invite you again to First Melissa this Sunday morning. Find out all the information you need at firstmelissa.com. Thanks again to the Dugout Sports Grill for hosting us every week. For Coach Matt and Allie, this is Trey Graham saying good night from the Z-Plex.